All right. Hey, good evening. Well, it's afternoon, right? So we say, hey, good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Uh, Thank you so much for stopping and spending a little lunchtime with us. Do share the link because we want to talk about a few things and exposing the corrupt and racist PPP regime. And so we have them on our watch list. Spread the word and let them know, let folks know that we are on. I will be chatting for a few minutes with uh, Lincoln Lewis, the veteran trade unionist. He is already backstage with us. We have lots of things we want to talk with you guys about, and we will do just that. So spread the word and let them know that we are on, and not only we are on, we're ready to rock and roll. We're ready to, as we continue to expose these people in the installed regime, a regime that is practicing economic genocide. And we are serious about when we say a regime that is practicing economic genocide. No other person than Lincoln Lewis, who coined that term many, many years ago. And when he did, there are some people who now are accepting that to be a reality were actually against him back then for making that particular statement. So Lincoln Lewis is with us, but before we go to Lincoln, we want to have you listen to this portion of Tantemoral's interview yesterday as you continue to share the link. Tantemoral's press conference yesterday.
Spoke on before I get into more substantive issues. Um, as we've come to expect, we've had a lot of gaffe in Guyanese terms, um, a very poorly researched um, positions taken by the leader of the opposition. So he's returned to the team that he's very familiar with, the issue of threatening the country and the People's Progressive Party. So he says the PPP understands only brute force and ignorance. We know that he can display that with a high degree of sophistication, brute force and ignorance. But let me say to Mr. Norton, we don't feel threatened. And that may have worked in the distant past, very, very distant past. But we're never going to allow what happened in the past to go unanswered. That his brute force and ignorance would be met with a strong response from the law of the country.
All right, welcome to this program this morning. You heard that brute force and ignorance will be met, and then he paused and he is basically declaring war on Guyanese people. This guy is declaring war. This guy is threatening uh, Guyanese in general. He's threatening all of the opposition supporters. He has to stop at some point in time. He has to stop with these threats because the threats may very well be something that he doesn't want. And this is a guy who has a history of these sort of threats. And listen to him here, Lincoln, and others.
Right across Ghana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country.
This Looney Tune has no authority, no moral authority to speak of threats and and to talk about Aubrey Norton threatening. It's not a threat. It's Aubrey is correct. It's time that these folks in the illegal PPP regime, the racist PPP regime, be confronted. Constitutional ways in confronting them. Enough is enough. And Jack Deere, you can't bluff anybody. And for some of you who's sitting all the time and talking about the feds gonna come, the feds, y'all keep sit down and wait for feds come. Y'all don't get up and do something and all about the feds gonna come. One guy 3 years ago when Biden got into office said, "Oh, the Biden administration gonna come," and they're nonsense. Y'all get up and do something. Sit down and wait for feds come. Lincoln Lewis, good afternoon. Hope all is well with you. Let's begin right away. Your take on the threats coming from Barra Jack there at that press conference.
Let me say to you that I believe that Jack Dio is a damn coward. A damn coward. You know. He's only coward when they get state power. They threaten people. When in opposition, he's a lamb. He's like a little dog that put his tail between his feet. The moment this man gets state power, he gets on the IRs, want to threaten people. I don't take this as threat, you know. Under Jack Dio's leadership of this country, a lot of black people, a lot of young black men lost their lives. And I am put it above him when he's talking about this threat, when threatening people now. I don't take it just as a threat. I think that this man has something up his armory that he intends to do to people. People who oppose what he does. Like the whole act now where his government is emasculating and digging out the resources for themselves and their friends. Anybody who wants to stop them, they're gonna move to stop stop them doing anything, even if it requires snuffing out their lives. I believe that this will be good. I don't take it just as a threat, as a political threat. I believe that these guys are, and we need to let them know that we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it easy, lying down, sit down and lie down and allow them to do things to us. I know every time he has his press conference, I just be going to post that while you don't call my name, you spin around. Sometimes he spin around. Let me tell you something. I want to send a message to you that I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of any one of them. Okay? I live a very frugal life. They can say what they want to say about me, but I believe that the time will come when they got to answer for how they've all the riches that they've amassed, where they get it from. You got to take them on.
And you are correct indeed. Jack Dio is indeed a bluff. We just can't sit down and just say that, yes, he is a bluff. But at the end of the day, we know what under his administration they did to hundreds of young men, mainly young black men, hundreds of mainly young black men. Their lives were snuffed out from gangs, murder groups belonging to Barra Jack Dio's administration that they basically nurtured. We know those groups, the phantom gangs, the killing squads, death squads, and Black Clothes Police. We know it all too well. But why is it that this guy believes, Jack Dio believes, that he can threaten people, that what is going to happen to them if people were to stand up and defend themselves in a constitutional manner? Why is it that he's not taken to task and confronted by these very threats, Mr. Lewis?
Let me say to you, there are some people who are afraid to cross the line and deal with these guys. But I'm not afraid, and many of us are not afraid to do it, because we know these guys are a bunch of cowards. If you look at the things that they're doing right now, they arm a set of security companies who they consider friendly to them. They give them contracts and they give them guns. And they're hoping that anybody rise up. If the police force don't respond as it is, they are going to get those security companies who believe that they are their laws onto themselves, get their people to turn guns on people. what they're doing is arming themselves to kill people. Let me give you an example. These guys they decide that they are going to. This is a rich country, and you're going to remain with poor people all the time. Look what these guys have done quite recently. There's an announcement which speaks to the question: if you want to do surgery or any major thing, you can go to a private hospital and the government will pay. All these hospitals that you see putting up around this place, I told my comrades that when these hospitals are put up, they're going to downgrade the public hospital in Georgetown, all the regional hospitals. They're not going to put the necessary equipment in there and staff them with the requisite skills. They are going to turn around and push the money push the business to these hospitals. All these hospitals, where you see Mark Sheriff putting up hospital there, putting up hospital there, they have their plans. How they are going to dig out the wealth of this country, take out state money and pass it over to the friends. That's not the only thing. You see the gold scholarship that they have now? Look about it. The institutions that are being given, right? The gold scholarships are not institutions primarily here, It's overseas where they can get a cutback. They get a big cutback from those institutions. Rather than taking some money and put into the University of Guyana, upgrade it, and we can implement Article 27 of this Constitution, which speaks to free education from nursery to university. They're not interested in those type of things. They are just interested in getting money. They do not want to. They're paying people $60,000 a month. Tell me honestly, they can live off of that with the lifestyle that they're living? How the hell they expect people will live on $60,000 and $70,000 working 22 days a month, the minimum? How do you expect people to do that? Jesus Christ, man, they are heartless people, men and women. But there are some of us who are prepared to defend these people, defend the shenanigans, right? The monies that people have. Let me say to you, Mark. Let me say to you, Yoshi. Let me tell you something. The taxes that we are paying in this country, the people, more than the tax concessions that are being given, is about 1/3 more than what the taxes that are being paid. Why is it that we're giving away all these tax concessions to all these foreign companies, all these oil companies and so forth, right? And at the same time, while we are doing it, what we're not prepared to do is to not reduce taxes, but we can do without income tax and collect those taxes that we're giving, the tax-free concessions that we are giving away. If we collect the taxes, we will collect more money than what we are collecting from income tax, which will increase or boost the take-home of a number of persons. Tell me, am I working for $200,000? I got paid income tax and all. What we carry?
Lincoln.
That's a simple carry. And what this man doing? This man shifting the goalposts. It's not about he and Norton. It's not about him and Norton. It's not about the PNC and the PVP. It's about the people of this country. And this is what we're losing sense. Every time you come on the television, it's somebody, the PNC, the TUF, the trade union, somebody come, and we paying him money. We want better representation. We want from this company, we want to be paid a living wage. We want to be given good housing. Look what they're doing at housing. Look what they're doing at housing. If they believe that we don't know who's collecting the money, which is the minister that is involved in heading the team that collecting the money. You got to pay a bribe to get a house lot. And when you get the house lot, when you don't pay, you got to wait for months because they'll take the money now that you've paid into the official channel. And that money got to go now to do development, right? We got to come to terms and understand what these guys are. They're gutting this country and giving us a bad name. Then the thing about it, they give you a little they give you a little house where them and their family and friends can build a big one because they rip you off from the beginning to the end. Something has to be done. And we got to tell them, this thing is not about them, not about them. It's not about the PNC, it's not about the PPP. This thing is about the people and the people and this country's development. Stop coming to tell me about Norton. That is not my interest. My interest is that I must live a life where I can have good water, good health services, proper streets, housing, and children can get education.
You see.
You don't tell me $60,000 and $50,000 can pay for education, pay for wages, pay for food, and pay for housing.
You know,
a shame. These
Lincoln,
bastards.
Lincoln, you are correct. A shame, and they are indeed bastards, shameless bastards. You did mention earlier about housing. Look at the house that they want to sell. They call this prefab prefab houses. Take a look at that. $5 million. They're paying private contractors to put these houses up, and they're getting a kickback. You mentioned earlier that foreign investors are getting loads and loads of tax concessions. Meanwhile, Guyanese who have basically been there all their lives have to sit and basically beg for crumbs. And in most cases, they're not even getting crumbs. But what happens is once there's a foreign investor in Guyana, Jagdeo and the PPP regime, they discussed with the foreign investor to put one of their cronies, one of their friends from the private sector as part of that investment so that they can make money. It's a hustle. That's what it is. The other thing that you've mentioned is I'm not sure. The other thing that he has mentioned is yesterday's press conference, which we'll get to, is the hospitals that you mentioned that they're not doing anything to modernize the state-owned hospitals, the public hospitals, but they're giving contracts and these concessions to their friends and cronies to build private hospitals or so-called private hospitals because they're seeing this as a business. They're not concerned about people's health. They see it as a business. And that's unfortunately what's happening. But go ahead, Lincoln. You were making a point. I wanted to head to what Jagdeo said about Linden and the sports facility out there in Linden. But before we get to that, you wish to make another point, please?
Let me tell you, we have to start do some be focused on what we want as a people, and don't allow these guys to come to tell you what they're going to give to us. And people got to prepare to cross the line, and people got to prepare to speak the truth. Let me tell you something, Jagdeo them, if they believe that they will threaten people who will speak out in this country, I am not going, and they will stop speaking. I will not stop. I will not stop. I am prepared to cross the line. And let me send the message to them. And here they're walking around looking on some tape where I said something. Let me tell you something. I have more to say than what worries you guys. The people in this country, I don't understand. They can't lock up all of us. They can't lock up all of us. Don't be afraid. The lock up and the jail, they make for dog and cat. It's meant for people who have broken the law. And in this case, we are breaking no law and we are being locked up. So tell me, why is it that we're not prepared to speak, we're not prepared to fight? Is that we are accepting that we are going to live on our knees than to die on our feet. We are going to live on our knees than to die on our feet. Let me tell you something. I have come from a lineage that has fought. My ancestors fought slavery. My ancestors speak up against indentureship. Not going to allow you who consider themselves colonizers to colonize. I want to call on people, we got to stand up. There should be no retreat, no surrender. If we do that, we are allowing the colonizers.
Yeah. We are joined by attorney at law, Miss Washington, Sheldon Washington. I'm not sure if she's interested she just has a few minutes with us. I'm not sure if she's interested in buying one of these fancy houses there. It's just $5 million. Look, a one bedroom. The kitchen is right next to each other, toilet right next to each other. $5 million. Which one you want? You want the purple one, the creamish one, or the blue one?
I think this is more suitable for a storage, Mark. When I look at these, it doesn't look very much like homes to me. It looks more like storage shed, the ones that we have here in America that we maintain in our backyards. So I don't think I would be interested in paying that much for that would be a very expensive shed. Mm-mm.
Absolutely. So, and are you surprised? This is supposed to be oil-rich Guyana, billions of dollars. Look what they have as houses. Please, are you surprised?
Mark, I'm not surprised with a lot of things that are happening right now. Current affairs in Guyana under this installed regime. I'm really not surprised. The only thing I'm really surprised at is how can the Guyanese people sit down and allow their country to be run this way, whether they be Indian, Afro-Guyanese, whatever you are. I'm surprised that Guyanese would sit down and allow the PPP to rule their country in a manner like this, where a person with low income would be given or have to purchase, because it's not free, a shed basically as a place to live in. That's not a house. That's what we typically would use as a backyard shed for storage. That's the sole purpose of it. We don't use those things as houses. And it looks very, very flimsy, as if the wind blows a little bit too heavy, or if there's a heavy rainstorm in Guyana, it would be blown apart or taken, into pieces. I'm not surprised at all. You look at the things we see right now happening in Guyana, and we know the country is not where it's supposed to be. It's not being run effectively. We have an ineffective government. We have something we refer to as ineffective assistance of counsel. Well, in Guyana, we have ineffective assistance of governance, because the government is not doing what they're supposed to do.
They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yep, you heard about this whole controversy with who signed documents to represent some so-called businessman in Guyana, a lobbying group, all manner of controversies we're hearing. And things are not looking good at all in that country. I know you have to rush off. You're a lawyer. You deal with a lot of matters, divorce. You deal with all manner of things. And you might be getting all these calls right now. But we thank you for coming on. Briefly, though, they're still after people's lands, all manner of stuff. And people, what do you suggest people should do from a legal standpoint, and constitutional standpoint, in standing up for their rights, Ms. Washington?
Mark, I've addressed this before, and I did noted that there was some person. I don't wish to reference the person's name because I don't think the person requires any attention here. But there's a person who wrote an article regarding the government taking lands in Guyana. I just want to make it very, very clear. In the case of Mr. Lewis's land, this has nothing to do with eminent domain, nothing to do with the government taking it for any particular purpose that is of public interest. Could we really stress that? Public interest. because that's the only reason or only time when the government is permitted to take a person's land and compensate them. In this case with Mr. Lewis, his land is being taken for other people who wants his land. They're fighting for something that his ancestors' blood was shed for, and it is wrong because it's too long that the way Afro-Guyanese are treated when they are the ones who struggled through slavery. Their backs were broken, they were raped, beaten, robbed, and then they were fortunately they were given lands, or they were able to take lands, and then you have this government trying to fight them to take the lands to give it to other people, and that is what I'm standing up against. That is what I'm saying is wrong. In the case of Mr. Lewis, there's no issue of eminent domain. Let's get this clear in the open. I need people to understand that fact. This is not an issue that is dealing with the government wants to acquire the land for a public purpose. This is not that. This is where you have somebody like Nandalal is tainted. You have a tainted person with dirty hands. His hands are unclean, getting involved in a private matter as the Attorney General of Ghana. So let's put this first of all in the open. You understand? This land has nothing to do with the government of Ghana. And there's several other persons in Mr. Lewis's position. And the government needs to back off and keep their hands out of situation that has nothing to do with them, or lands that they're trying to dispossess people of that they're not intending to use for a public purpose. And that is wrong. We need to stand up against that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Washington, for taking time out of your busy schedule of being here with us. Just before you go, we're going to get back to Mr. Lewis. Is there anything else that you observe, the corruption and the racism and all manner of things that's happening in Guyana that you probably want to leave us with before you go?
Absolutely, Mark. I was very distressed, and I wanted to speak about the situation with the athletes, the Guyanese athletes, and the way they were treated. That is blatant discrimination. I look at the athletes and I saw all of the athletes are Afro-Guyanese. I didn't notice any Indo-Guyanese in the athletes as part of them. And I think what has happened to them is something that is blatant disrespectful, and it looked like an act of aggression against Black folks in Guyana. And I don't like it. I don't like the way the government treated them. They're celebrities and they deserve the right to be treated as such. They worked hard. They didn't just turn up at the Carfesta Games and just perform. They practiced. They spent hours in the gym. They spent hours working on this to perfect their trade, and they went to represent our country. And Guyana ought to treat them with respect. They ought to have put them up properly, providing sufficient funds to take care of our athletes. And this is something it's a gross disrespect to the people of Guyana, and the government needs to get it together. PPP need to get it together. President Ali, get it together. Get your act together. This is not right.
Installed illegal president, before you
Absolutely.
go. But imagine the gall that he has in congratulating the athletes that they have done nothing for. Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Shame on these guys.
Shame indeed, Mark.
Anyway,
so Mark, as always,
thank you
for having me here on this program. Today is a really busy day for me, but Absolutely. As always, I will take even a minute to just come on and to speak for a few minutes and say thank you to everyone, all of your listeners. I appreciate all of you out there and the support that you've been giving me. I want to say I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mark, for having me on for this.
Thank you so much, Ms. Washington, Attorney at Law Washington. Give her a call if you have any legal matter, whether you're divorcing. Well, I'm not sticking on divorces alone, but other matters she deals with. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Back to Lincoln Lewis. Lincoln, you heard about the treatment of those athletes. The athletes. You heard what Attorney at Law Sheldon Washington said. It's racist. Your take on that, the treatment of our athletes, please, sir.
Let me point out to you, this is a country that is how much money we have and what we need to do. So much money we talk about, and this government decide they are going to determine for people what they will get, how they will get it, and when they will get it. And the faster we come to terms and understand that is how they behave. Look at Linden. Linden as a community, I lived there, the cream of my life. What I know of is soccer. Football is a game in Linden from the beginning, or an athletics. Those are the two big things in there. And they decide they're going to take the Mackenzie Sport Club and they're going to turn it into a cricket ground. What is it you're doing? What you're saying to people, to hell with what you would like to pursue. We saying that we want cricket here and we're going to have cricket. And who are the cricketers? You will have to go to see the people them that we promote, to go there, we promote. You'll go there to sit and look at them. That's what they're doing. You have to pay to come and look at these people. What they're doing is moving out the money in another form. Take away the ground, convert it to something else, and we'll use the money. You'll have to pay and see them, and we will take that money out from the community. That's what they're doing. It is about them. And until such time that people come to terms and realize that this thing is not about the individual. It's not about the individual. This thing is about our rights in society, our right to self-determination, our right to choices, our right to hold a government accountable, our right to earn. Unless we can stand up and talk to these people about these things, we're not going to get anywhere. We got to stop believing that this thing is about PNC or PPP or TUF or
TUF is no longer. TUF is just
or
a one
AFC or
one-man party. But Lincoln, you
it's
did
somewhere around.
Yeah. Cricketers are also of all ethnicity for the most part. Our East Indian brothers and sisters love cricket, our African
But
brothers and sisters.
let me point out to you, the cricket, hold on, Mark here. Yes, Mark. African people pursue cricket, but the cricket has been hijacked by a group of people who using race and other things now to determine who will make up a squad. You understand what's taking place, Mark? This thing here, the politics and discrimination, as now being in the vein of the men and women who are involved in these books.
And the point that I was making, that they have.
You believe a cricket team? You believe a cricket team was going out of this country? They would have been going to a country, and they got to look for places, somebody to lodge for a couple of, during the time that they are playing out there. This government would have find money to give them.
Absolutely.
And the business community would have done the same too.
Absolutely. And I do know a lot of talented African Guyanese cricketers were basically stifled during the 23-plus rulership or dictatorship of Jack Deo and the PPP. They were stifled. No one is saying that cricket is only for one ethnic group. Nobody's saying that except Jack Deo. What the people in Linden are saying is that, look, cricket has not been their number one sport. I don't know what in that statement a knucklehead like Jack Deo cannot understand. A gangster, a 2-cent gangster like Jack Deo cannot understand. The people of Linden are nobody who has been speaking out on the issue. I noticed quite a few folks are now brave to speak out on the issue, but prior to that, they weren't. But nobody is saying that Lindeners don't want cricket, or Lindeners don't love cricket, or don't bring cricket to Linden. Nobody has said that. What the people are saying is exactly what you have said, is let us focus on the most important sports to Lindeners. Soccer, which is of course football, basketball, track and field. That's Linden, that's Aichuni, that's Kokwani. Why force cricket down their throat now and try to make it a number one priority in Linden? That doesn't sound well at all. But let us go to what Jack Deo said. This hypocrite, this knucklehead. Let us go to what he said, because he wants to paint the guys or those who are now talking about this whole idea of bringing cricket to Linden. You said just now, and I agree with you, that it's basically trying to, you didn't say launder money, but they want their friends to go into different communities, of course, to launder money. That is what it is about, laundering of money. And they want to use cricket now in Linden to do just that. Because after that, one of their friends or cronies going to go and put up a 3 or 4 story hotel and say this is improvement. The country is booming. It doesn't mean well for Linden. But let's hear what this knucklehead had to say.
At that ground, they're going to be, we've just gone out to procure lights that are up to FIFA standards. So you're going to have a ground with FIFA standard lights in Linden that is currently under construction. Secondly, at the Mackenzie facility, we've just completed the ground so that it will be comparable with the ground at Providence. And we are now procuring ICC standard lights for the Mackenzie ground. And that would be a multi-purpose ground. So the fact is that Linden will have both a FIFA standard ground and an ICC standard ground, that they can play both cricket and football. Further, at Retrieve, where there is no ground that hasn't been touched for 40 years, we're also starting to develop that ground that would allow 3 of the schools in Linden to have access to a ground for the first time after almost a generation of not having access there. So these are the facts. An ICC standard ground with lights, ICC lighting, because ICC lighting is very different. The size of
he's stressing on the ICC lightings and so forth and so on. It sounds like one of their friends and another example of their cronies getting that contract, that ICC lighting and light up all the grounds, and they're procuring it. They're doing all manner of stuff. And that particular ground that he spoke about, that will schools will have access to, that it was there basically for 40 plus years. You know Linden very well, far better than I do. Your take on the lies from this guy, because for 23, 24 years, they have done nothing for Linden, absolutely nothing, except, of course, they gave them 3 caskets, injured a lot of people during the 2011, 2012 protest, and also lots of economic depression. The tongue is basically, they have committed economic genocide on the people of Linden. Your take on what he's talking about, but the ground and all these manner of things, Lincoln.
You know, what this ground is not good government ground. This ground is not a government. These grounds, Mackenzie Sport Club belong to what we call, is a membership club. For you to enter and do things, you need to sit down and talk with the people who are the owners of these grounds. But Jacques don't believe in that. He believes that he can walk in like a gladiator and he do what he wants to do. That's not how government works. The Mackenzie Sport Club, Sport Club belong to members, and you need to deal with them. You don't want to deal with them. The other ground over in Retrieve, which I believe is the ground opposite the Mackenzie High School, I knew that ground. They used to be playing soccer on that ground. It has been allowed to now grow weed, bushes, and all kind of things. Even that ground, it belonged to the community. It belonged to it was administered by the Mackenzie. It was administered by the Mackenzie High School. I believe that we need to sit and talk. The community need to be involved. The next place they may go to Lyshus. You know what they may not know? That even Lyshus, Linden Concert Hall, that thing was matched, came out of negotiation in bauxite. It was matched by workers' contribution for the construction of that building. It is under the administration of the Mackenzie High School. I don't know if they have carried it over to the council now, but that was made as constructed by the blood, sweat, and tears of workers. But they will want to walk into a place like that and said, this is it, and we are going to do this, and we're going to do that to it. Not understanding the history and the history of the construction of these agencies. The time has come. We got to stop these guys. We got to stop them from doing the things that they want to do.
The thing is, though, Lincoln,
and we can't just sit down. We can't just sit down and say that we cannot do things as how we used to do them before. I want to tell you something. It is not everything you throw out with the bathwater. Some things got to remain. If you throw out everything, then you should say that I will stop eating. I will stop drinking. There are certain things that are necessary in this life.
Absolutely. Lincoln, absolutely agree with you. He's talking about pretending as though they care about Linden, as suddenly they care about Linden, as local government elections around the corner. He's bluffing people. He's lying. He's notorious at that. But not a mention. He's talking about giving school children access to the playground. For 23 plus years, they never did that. They stole a seat from Region 10. They gave the people of Linden 3 caskets. The Lindeners should never forget Barra Jack Day's regime for doing that. Gave the people of Linden. The PPP gave the people of Linden, not jobs. Because in 2011, it was Donald Ramatar who promised 3,000 plus jobs to the people of Linden. Instead of 3 jobs or 3,000 jobs, he gave them 3 caskets, the PPP regime. Local government elections around the corner. Don't forget the PPP and what they did to you Lindeners. Also, not a mention about this school. $346 million. It is the PPP, Jack Dio, that goon. They are depriving hundreds of young people access to a better education because they have decided to give $346 million to their friends and cronies who know nothing about building anything, just like we see they do with others throughout the country. Give their friends and cronies hundreds of millions of dollars. Why didn't he talk about this here? This is an insult to the people of Linden. Lincoln, are you surprised that not even a classroom has been built?
I am not surprised that a classroom has not been built. I believe that the government comes up with some brain scheme at some point. This school that they want to put there, have they really done the required analysis to determine whether it ought to be there? Why we building it? All these guys believe about this, how they can make money. We get a big budget, largest budget, and he gives us an opportunity to scheme off more than we would have normally done with a small budget. This here is and what I'm sorry about this situation where it is that the people who they put to front these things, whether they understand what it means to their credibility and the community that they come from.
Don't forget that
these are my concerns.
Those guys don't care about their credibility. They're hustlers. They care about the little crumbs that they're getting, not their credibility. No, they don't have credibility.
regardless of the circumstance, there is something you have to be concerned about. And I believe that people have to stop and think that the time has come that they ought not to be used by this government. They not be used by politicians who for their own dastardly end. You know, Mark, as we look at it, look the level of borrowing that we are doing, the level of borrowing that we are involved in. And what we're going to do, we're going to remain a poor country. Even the World Bank saying that while we get this fastest growing economy, what is happening, the effects of the borrowing, what is doing to this country. We got to stop, man. If these guys if they don't intend to stop, then we have to do something to make sure that we set an example, that those who come after them don't do the same thing.
I agree with you on that, Lincoln. If we listen as we look at the time, we got a couple more issues to touch on. But listen to the hypocrisy. Listen to this demonic creature talk about development.
But we've seen their planning and their track record. Nothing. And people by now looking at Norton and Lowe and the mediocre gang that goes to these press conferences would know that they have no capacity to lead this.
You heard him, the mediocre gang. This is a man who has no integrity at all. He hasn't responded about Sue. This is a man who moves with their squad members.
Just hold on.
Yeah.
When you talk about mediocrity, here's something. You had the charity wharf, okay? That float away. That end up in the river. The charity story. You had the, what you call it, the sugar mill, Sheldon, that had a bigger budget than the national budget, right? It was his idea. Let us check all the failures that this man has had, all the projects that this man expect projects them in this country, which I can't remember all of them, but there's a wide array of them where he has failed, and he's the economic czar. He considers himself the economic czar for this government, for the government. Look at the disaster GPL. It was privatized. Look at Marriott. Look at the oil, what we call it, the oil contracts. Take it turn and say that is the PNC, is the coalition that did it. The first contract that was signed was in 1999 by Jan. Where he was the Minister of Finance. And what they did is that they signed away all the oil blocks in deference to the laws of this land. And now we turn it back to tell you is the coalition, but the problem is that the coalition don't know how to answer him. The coalition don't know how to answer him. It started with him. It started with him, and then he became, when Janet moved, he was the president. He knew what was going on.
Definitely worse than a mediocre gang. Definitely worse.
What are the people who should be only accountable for malfeasance in public office?
He should get shackles not only on his
don't let him run away.
Shackles on his feet for probably the next century. He's a shameless goon. But speaking of everything that he touched, turned to the opposite of the Midas touch. This is $200 million spent on the Sheldon Sugar Factory. $200 million. You know what that $200 million could have done? $200 million. Look how they love to waste money. He's just a waste, other than a person. He wastes your tax monies. Billions of dollars he wasted. Uh, he wasted hundreds of millions of dollars in the Amila Falls hydro project, the fiber optic cable, hundreds of millions of dollars. He dug up the highway.
Yeah, let me tell you, Mark, even that hospital in New Amsterdam, what we have there is something that is worse than that is how the man behave.
One laptop per family, hundreds of millions of dollars wasted. Housing development, wasted billions of dollars, robbed taxpayers for a 40 by 50 piece of house lot, while he gave away hundreds of house lots to drug lords and money launderers to build hotels and all manner of stuff. Give away taxpayers' money to people to build hotels. Give his friend Body Shivraj almost 300 or 200 plus $1 million to build Body Shivraj Hotel. As soon as Body Shivraj built the hotel, he turned around and sold it to a man from Turkey, and now the hotel is named Prince's International Hotel. Took away the people's money at NIS to give his friends and cronies to build the Berbice River Bridge. But yet this man sits there to talk about mediocre gang. Shame on that. But then again, he has no shame. Maybe we should call Sue to tell us a little more about him. Lincoln.
Yes, my brother. Thanks very much.
At his press, we're not done as yet. At his press conference yesterday, he spoke about the condition of the health sector that the coalition government left in 2020 when they got kicked out of office. This man is such a pathological liar. He's notorious at that. He has no shame. And then they get press reporters sitting there and not asking this man real questions. But then again, he spoke about the health sector, and they got no lights and no nothing, and the buildings were run down. The coalition government in less than 5 years did more for the health sector than Jack Day and the PPP ever done for the 23 plus years they've been in office. Let us remind him about Port Morant. Let's go to Port Morant, the heart of the PPP support base. Port Morant Hospital was run down. Port Morant Health Center run down. Kildonan Health Center and all these other places ran down under the PPP regime. Every single week, 2-3 persons, expectant mothers are dying, babies are dying. And yet this man has the audacity to sit there and talk about what the coalition did with the health sector that ran it down. He spoke about the as they term it, COVID-19 hospital. They badmouth the COVID-19 hospital. You know how many of them, Jack Day and all of them, when they got COVID-19, some of them got it 1, 2, 3 times. Guess where they ran? It's the same hospital that they didn't even get a proper breathing machine and an oxygen machine, nothing at all. What is the opposition doing to counter these people, other than some of them dressing up, putting on makeup and going and just pomposetting themselves? That's not politics. It's not politics at all. Lincoln, you were saying something. Let me calm down. Let me calm down.
Let me say to you guys, you know, when the media decide that they're not going to give this guy coverage to talk nonsense, then and only then he will come to terms and realize that we are serious. Why we want to sit down every time you ask Jack your question, you tell you about the people, about the coalition government or the PNC? Why you want to do that? Why is in power? Why is in office? He's in office to do better than them. Not to tell me that because of their performance is inadequate. Then he's saying that he's on the wrong place. He and the PVP, they're in the wrong place. Because if they can't create
It's
not an
lunchtime.
atmosphere,
It's
but
lunchtime.
an economy.
Yeah, sorry. We're getting a feedback from Lincoln's side, but it's lunchtime. I say it's lunchtime because we got in Kosia. I say, where is the evidence of the wastage? Nothing ain't waste from 2015 to 2020. At least be real. Facts will always win over two bitter old men. I don't know why this guy is disrespecting Apostle London and Lincoln Lewis in saying two bitter old men, right? I'm glad you came in, Brother London, to save me from that. But let me show you about this soup drinker, because he's just getting a little soup for drink, and he just Jack Day probably text you and say, go and say something. The fact of the matter is, billions of dollars wasted in medical supplies under Jack Day, under the PPP, because Jack Day was giving majority of the supplies to bring in medicines and all manner of things to his friend Bobby Ramrope. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of stuff wasted under the PPP. Wasted. So don't worry with these goons coming to talk crap. Wasted. London, we have you on board with us. Jack Day was saying that you guys are saying that cricket doesn't belong to Linden. No one has ever said that. We all love cricket. Are you surprised at what he has said? Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Mr. Lewis, and to your listeners and viewers. Thank you for having me here. And I'm not surprised by anything that Jack Day would have said in reference to this matter, because as long as you're disingenuous, then just about everything that has to spew from your lips would be targeted towards that defense. No one in Linden to whom I've spoken would have said that they are against cricket being played here. What the issue is first of all, the heist that would have occurred in reference to the Mackenzie Sports Club being a members club, just like that, stripped from us. NISA suddenly became owners, and then Ramson said that it just turned over to the government. Hence, we are no longer possessors of that property, according to Ramson. And additionally, persons would have said that they would like to have cricket played there because it was played there before. I played cricket at the Mackenzie Sports Club, but it was not the primary sport. The issue at hand is where the claim is that someone said they wanted cricket to be played there, hence it is now a cricket stadium. I find that degree of reasoning to be most asinine, weak, but expected from people who don't listen. It is impossible for anyone with a normal brain to assume that because someone says they would like to have cricket added to the number of activities that we are able to engage in at Mackenzie Sports Club, it meant to build a cricket stadium, and then say it is not fit, it is unfit for FIFA, which would be the football international body standard. I'm not surprised. I'm totally unsurprised. Maybe if Jaglio came here and had a conversation with me in person, he wouldn't take the risk of saying what he said.
Maybe if he come to have a conversation with you in person, we have a little jar with little oil or crumbs, like what he's doing with some of the others. But I know you're not easily tempted like some of the others who are just probably they don't have a community mindset. It's all about a hustle for them, and we know who those individuals are. Some of them are watching right now, but it's, as I've asked Lincoln earlier, you are there in Linden. You have gone to this site. You let us. You broadcast it. You're doing far more than those elected officials and those who are fighting to sit in positions, whether it's the council or to become the next mayor of Linden. All the fight that they're fighting, not one of them over the past 2 years has done anything in terms of standing up and defending the people of Linden as you have done. Congratulations to you. But what is your take on this school? Not even a classroom thus far, but $350 almost $1 million to the cronies of the PPP.
I'm humbled, and thus far it's reported that about 200 million would have been released, just about, and that's what we have to show for it. I sat virtually in a meeting yesterday with the council. I listened to the meeting, and the date of completion projected is supposed to be the 23rd. July 2023. That is impossible. It's totally impossible. The last time I had a protest there, it was said that, or someone spoke to me, I think one of the contractors, or not the contractor, representative, said that they had issues with procuring certain materials and there's a challenge, a 5-month backlog and so on. So they were supposed to work 10% more to have this done. Now that's where we have. What shocked me, Mr. Benchtrap and Mr. Lewis, is that in that said meeting, the officials said they're going to wait until July and then seek to exercise certain measures against the contractors. Now that is most unusual to me because it definitely cannot be done in July. And if you're assessing that the team is not doing the work as they promised and agreed to, it should be 10% added each day so that they can have the work, the time, of course, shortened, then something has to be done now. This school would not be ready for July. Look what it is. I went there the other day. There's nothing, not even a concrete block to say a classroom is being built properly or any room that is formed yet. So it would not be done.
They gamble out the money. They gamble out the money. They drink out, they sport it out, and all manner of things they did with it.
But excuses are being made that they have issues regarding materials. And I said to the person, this is unheard of.
Yeah,
I see many other buildings being built in Guyana. So what about this school? People throwing buildings up all around the place.
I'm sure if they had given that contract to you in less than a year, it would have already been completed. But
well, who knows?
But then again, look at who they have as the foreman there, a man who was caught up in a bunch of corruption at Guy Oil. Some Akani Blair or Khan Man Blair or whatever his name is. I don't know.
And you would recall when we were speaking initially about the red flag and this, before anything started, Akani Blair said he would be there and he would ensure that this is done in time. I would never forget that. No, he's there.
He is in the same category of that other so-called contracted critic. Everybody's a contractor now, right? Everybody waste of time, man. Lincoln, I heard she meant. Sorry, I said she. I heard he mentioned, Jagdeo mentioned your name that concerning some land and the fact that there's no legal ownership. He's talking about Kingley land. Again, he's sticking his mouth into areas that he should not have. He should stick in one area where his mouth should always be. But what is your take on what he has said, sir?
You know, here again, what we have is a situation where people believe that they can take up, they can use the provision of privilege to go and say things or lie on people. And it is of concern to me. The Kingley situation is one where I have copies of the transport issued in July 1851. The first survey that was done in 1868, and you had the 1967 survey. And in all the way, nobody have ever established that they have that they own the land that is named Kojo Park, Kojo McPherson Park. Nobody. The people in 1967, you know what they were saying? They were saying they have interest in the land. You have interest don't mean that you own. You're asking me today for me to come to prove ownership. I don't have to prove ownership. It's those who go to the police and go to Jagdeo and Nandalal. They should ask them to prove ownership that they own the land. And that's a concern of mine. So you're asking me to prove. Am I not a taxpayer? I'm not a citizen of this country whose rights to be protected. These guys, they believe in discriminating against people, discriminating against groups. That's the wickedness of them. I'm saying we are prepared, if it's in the court of law, to justify that we are the rightful heirs of the land at Kingley. Article 20 of the Constitution speaks to this whole issue of property when it comes to persons handing over to their family, or family seeking to protect the rights of their ancestors. These are important things. Very, very important.
Very.
We are standing on constitutional ground, and we don't want anybody to believe that they can do us as they like. We are never move. Let me tell you something. They believe that if they get through kingly, this is to everybody who get ancestral land. They believe that if they get through kingly, they're gonna destroy us, Lewis and the whole group, and they will move to do the same thing to other communities. We got to stop. We got to ban with belly, all lands, and fight back. Can't allow them to do that.
Hold hands and fight back, indeed. Are we seeing, because Mr. London, you're seeing what's happening. You're seeing the bullying tactics by the PPP, trying to covet a man's land, generational land. Here is the documents, legal documents. They're sending their people to build illegal fences and all manner of things. And I was told earlier that Jack Deere, he said that the police is looking for Lincoln. Well, I just want Jack Deere to know that maybe...
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. 3 Tuesdays ago, it's 22 policemen and 7 vehicles turned up there. Yesterday, again, there were 6 policemen who turned up. They know where they're living. I don't want nobody mama guy. You understand me? We went to court in 2020. 2020, we went to court for 17 months, and the magistrate then dismissed the cases. The magistrate was claiming that these are private matters. The police has no place in them. So I don't know now where they're coming again. They will not harass me, and I will not succumb to their harassment.
They want that piece of land, that portion of land for their friends and crony for oil and gas deals. That is how corrupt these guys are. Jack Deere is one of them. Let's bring in Mr. London. Mr. London, you've heard everything. Give your take on these things that's happening, please, sir.
Yet again, unsurprising, because that's exactly what happened at Mackenzie Sports Club, whereby it seems as if ownership and rightful ownership no longer serve as being important rights of Guyanese, or of certain descent, I should say. Because if Mr. Lincoln Lewis, and that's what happened in the sports club, these two situations are so similar. They're saying we have to prove that we own the Mackenzie Sports Club. So I ask a simple question to those who are, of course, cronies and have to support whatever Ramson or Jack Deere says. If somebody shows up at my gate and says this is their house, why do I have to go into my safe to find documents to prove that it's mine? I don't have to do that. I don't have to entertain them because I know it's mine. They should come to me to say, I have a document in my hand. This is my property. You are invading my space. You are trespassing on my property. And then we can have a conversation. And I don't have to talk to them still because we have to move to the proper court to have this addressed. So Mr. Lewis has nothing to prove. He just took it on himself to show this. But if something belongs to me, it is not my burden to prove it unless I have need of some document in the court of law, like a title or something. So it's happening, and it's happening too often in our country nowadays. What bothers me is, as I said, here in Linden, we have got elected officials who have not stepped forward to say they're standing in defense of Guyanese rights. It's not about who voted for you and who didn't vote for you. When we have an opposition and something's being done by the administration, the opposition is expected to step forward and lead the charge in the battle, because this is happening too often. And an attorney general who's going to encourage, based on what I'm hearing, individuals to do what they're doing is creating serious crisis down the road. Because who knows whether a Guyanese may be far more aggressive than Mr. Lewis in dealing with the parental or the ancestral land.
Absolutely. It's a shame that almost all of the quote unquote elected officials in Linden aren't doing anything to confront the situation. They're always silent on a lot of important matters, and even those who sit in the sideline just watching and just waiting to be placed in positions to fulfill some sort of status, because that is what is it for these people, status and not representation of the people. Mr. Lewis, I know you have another appointment. So where do we go from here? Jack Davis obviously hooding, as we would say, the police on you. Because if he, in fact, he did mention that the police is looking on you, he is in a subtle way saying to the police, go after this man, victimize this man even more, persecute this man. Your take on that threat, please, sir.
Let me send this. Let me tell him that I am not one person who is easily being terrorized, and I will not sit by and allow anybody to do me anything. I determine what I will like to do, because everything that I do will be done within the confines of this law. I have nothing to prove to Mr. Jagdio, nothing to prove to Nandalal. If they want to take me to court, let them take me to the court. And I will have the lawyers to defend me. To hell was what they're doing. Our family, Kingley North belong to us. And we said that we're not allowing anybody to go on the unoccupied lands. And we shall defend that with all our will, our blood, and we will not be crying. Somebody else gonna cry. Thank you, man.
Lincoln, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. And thank you for coming on here, Lincoln, and spend a couple of minutes with us. Continue to stand up and fight for what's yours and your generation. Thank you, Lincoln. But let's remain with Mr. London for a few more minutes. Mr. London, oh wow! Jack Deere probably called somebody and told him to. He probably called Shanghai and tell Shanghai to run over and pull out some plug by your house there. Because they always get them guys, hoods them like. But nobody's really afraid of those little puppies, so to speak. But Mr. London, we'll just do a few more minutes like that. Why do you suppose that those who have been elected to represent the people of that region are quiet in many instances, and the only time they come out and sell a little something is when their backs are against the wall or they feel embarrassed? Why are they so quiet? And these are the same people going to rush out for local government elections and want people to vote for them. Some of them who have been quiet in the background going to rush and tell people why they should be elected around the horseshoe table as to the next mayor. It's a status thing. Why are they so quiet? And what's the preparation for local government elections in Region 10, Linden, Region 10, and so forth?
Thank you. I can only, as you seek to ask me, suppose why they're silent. And I attribute that to bad political culture in this modern generation. They're not as open to standing even in the face of opposition. And so if they feel that they're not getting support from Lindeners, some of them would say that people aren't showing up to protests. They say when they call for action, people are not supporting them. And that speaks to weakness that is certainly unbeneficial to these individuals. You're not supposed to have people supporting you if you're elected to represent them. What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to stand to represent the cause of the people. But these individuals have got it twisted and have it in reverse. So because of the immaturity in reference to their political stature, they're incapable of standing alone, for example, for a cause. Hence, it appears as if they are weaker and weaker by the day. Now, I would know that they're certainly assiduously preparing for local government election, because in their view, it serves them better to be elected and to have titles, councillor and member of parliament. In this case, of course, local governments, you're going to have that, but mayor and deputy, and under those circumstances. And again, it speaks to the immaturity, because if people elect you to serve them, or you're selected to serve, then by right, the people don't have to go anywhere. Of course, we have not been elected to do anything. But there's a conviction within me that with the sports club, for example, I cannot stand to see that an entire mecca of sport in this community has been stolen, taken from us in a dictatorial manner. I don't need people to stand in reference to expressing how I feel about the matter. It is just unjust. It is illegal. More than that, we have no say in what is being done here. That is also unjust and illegal. But the representatives, I see Mr. Norton, Jagdew responded to him, say that people prefer football. I've never seen Aubrey Norton stand for 1 minute at sports club. He has two representatives here, Figueira and Sears. None of them would have ever come forward.
Anyone went there? What about the chairman? What about others who pretend to be fighting for Linden?
No one.
I know you were there. The former headmaster, retired headmaster Cleveland Thomas, I believe he was there as well.
Yeah, I was there on 3 occasions. 3 occasions, and not a single elected official showed up here. None. So they don't have an interest as far as I'm concerned because they haven't shown up. The other thing is, it seems as though if I criticize them, then I am unworthy of their presence or their support in a cause. Well, as somebody rightly said, it seems this is my ground. I never knew I owned Mackenzie Sports Club, so I don't know why people believe that I should be standing there. Hence, if the members of parliament and others are upset that I speak about them in a negative manner, then they shouldn't come.
Right. If they don't want people to speak about criticize them, they should get the hell out of politics. Just go and sell mommy somewhere. But I think so. The only time we see these people, for the most part, mind you, the only time we see them is when there's some some mash day in Linden. They come out, they walk, they wind the street together.
You see them at town week. Yeah, you see them at town week.
Something is wrong with those guys, man. But what's going on with local government elections? Before we get to you, we see here Juan Anthony is saying, what have they done to get the support from the people? They need to stand up on the grounds they have been elected. Then the people will come out. Indeed, they need to stand up with the people. Don't come around now because, and this goes to the PPP. The PPP is a waste. Don't trust the PPP. Just don't trust them. But these guys in the coalition, they tend to just get vexed quick. They want positions. They want to be deputy mayor. They want to be mayor. They want to be chairman. They want to be this, regardless of where. But we're not seeing a proper plan. Local government elections plan. I'm not saying you got to throw all of your plans out there, but we're just not seeing things. What's happening in New Amsterdam? The PPP is trying to hijack New Amsterdam. I don't think they're going to be successful. They've been able to capture a couple of, just a handful of PNCers, maybe like the Barbara and all these other different people. But what is going on in Linden in preparation for local government elections? And will the people see Nigel, London in the race for local government elections under a group or at all? What's happening?
Thank you for asking. There are preparations being made here for local government elections, though many of them, or much of it, is secretive. So people seem to be playing a game of poker where everybody wants to hold something to their chest. The matter at hand in reference to whether I would enter that fray, it's the answer to those who are concerned is no. And there are quite a few reasons for that. One, and I hope that I can be as candid as possible with you all. One reason is that I understand local governance in Guyana, and it's not local at all. We are not governed locally. If Dharmlal could be in an office in Georgetown and make a phone call or say that he's not doing something and the councillors are all stuck. And so with that system in place, there isn't much that can be done. We are starved for funds here in Linden. There are certain basic things that need to be done that are controlled centrally, and the mayor has absolutely no power in reference to what can happen in this community. Now, I would not see that and step foot into that environment thinking that there'll be a difference being experienced. What I do know as well is that the mayor of any municipality is not elected by the people they're in, and I will always have an issue with that until it changes. We do not elect mayors. Mayors are elected by councillors. And as a result of that, the community may have a desire for one person to lead them, but then political parties make, of course, the decision to say this person will be the mayor. And if they have the votes, then that happens. And so all of this is stacked against democracy in the true sense of the word. Finally, I said to you a while ago that we have policy issues in this country. Guyana is a nation that requires certain and critical constitutional reform. And policies that govern our country would have to be changed in order for us to be a true democracy. As a result of that, I am more than focused now, based on what people have said to me, to engage the nation and to afford myself or avail myself to serve them at a national level where policies are made. Now, should they decide to say, well, okay, then based on what they will hear from me, they will agree that the people's movement can stand in that environment, I would appreciate that. If not, then at least the effort has been made by me to represent the cause of people who've asked to be represented by me and others. And so we would not be participating in the local government election because I want you to see the final point I will make here. And that is, I don't have to be elected to serve you. And based on when I became more prominent in reference to what I do and what my presence in the community, I said that, and I want to take some more time for the person to really understand that. For me to serve you, I don't have to be elected by you. I can serve you without having a title attached to my name. If I have to be elected before I serve, I am not a servant. I have an ego issue. And I said that to Aubrey Norton. I don't have a personal issue with Aubrey Norton, but I said it before. If Aubrey Norton, when he said that he has to be elected first, before he stepped forward to defend certain causes of people, I said that's a problem, that's a red flag. Because if ever you have to be first leader before you can act, you can't lead me. I believe in serving people without any title attached to my name, and that's what I continue to do. So they will see that my ambition was never to be mayor of Linden or some council, hence I'm doing what I have to do. My desire, my ambition is to see Guyana function properly and to see people stand, as you're doing, and others with strength and courage to speak to what is proper and understand what good governance is all about. And so that is my take. I hope I put it to rest in the minds of many people. Because you're expecting me to make some surprise announcement, some shock move, it's not going to happen.
I don't on top of that, nomination day is coming up soon, and also the time has passed to even present a group, and we haven't seen that. So I suspected that London will not be going up for mayor of Linden. And you are correct that the people, whether it's Linden, Georgetown, or wherever, do not go out into the voting booth to elect their mayors. And that, to me, is a problem. It is something that I've been fighting against for 20 years, 20 plus years, to say, let the people go into voting booth and elect whomever they want to be a mayor.
Yes.
Not the politicians going to go in around the, a horseshoe table and sit at wherever they are and dictate who they want to be the next mayor. Yes. That is not democracy. And no. You are also correct. You don't have to be elected in a position, because a lot of people, not just in Linden or wherever, in general, they feel that in order to do something or to stand up for people's rights, that they have to be elected into a position. We are not elected officials.
Exactly.
Or look at what we are probably doing more than majority of the elected members of parliament or selected members of parliament or officials, whether they're mayors or councillors. We're not getting a salary. The MPs are getting over probably close to $300,000+ every month. They get duty-free concessions. I'm sure you don't even get duty-free concession for your chicken.
No, sir, nothing. No, I'm taxed. I don't get anything duty-free.
Whatever it is, and Linden needs a proactive mayor, a mayor who will really stand up for the people. Not superficial standing up or for some status or whatever, to say that you're a mayor and to prove a point. But Linden, hopefully next time around, we'll see you running up for the mayorship of Linden. And I'm sure you'll get a heck of a lot of support, because right now I don't know who is there that can fit in that position. And I'm very honored.
I'm thankful. Thank you.
Your closing remarks as we see Guyana going further and further down under the PPP regime, racist PPP regime. Your closing remarks, sir.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here with you. It's always a pleasure to sit in the same company of a man who has, for years, for decades, stood and fought for what is your conviction and the rights of other people. I would like to encourage Guyanese to let your voices be heard even louder at this time in our country. Hardships are everywhere. I just came home to head back out to work, But I was met today by so many people who are begging just for $100 or $200 to get something to eat in an oil-rich economy. The market square, especially for Linden, has become almost dead. People are hardly having businesses are closing so early in the day because things are not happening. There's not a buzz of activities anymore. And that's all sign of a very, very weak economy, which tells me then that, as we've said for so many years, the trickle-down effect of this oil wealth we speak to is not being experienced by many people in this country. We therefore must make every effort as a body called Guyanese to arise together so that our country can be better. We would call on every elected and selected official to get your act together, to stand for those you represent, and to let your voices also be heard. But more than that, let your presence be felt among people, not just for elections and not just to hand out a few gifts to them, but whenever there's a crisis in the town or in the region, you must be seen as the leader, as the one who stands in the forefront. And whenever these atrocities like what happens at Sports Club or Mr. Lewis's land and so many other places are occurring, even the wastage of medical supplies, we must be, or you must be as elected officials and selected ones, the first to step forward to say that you would not have this happen. Finally, I would call on those who are in Linden to let your voices be heard in reference to what's happening with the Barmy Primary School project and contracts being awarded around our communities. We are not seeing, yet again, persons in this town and this community receiving contracts and therefore being able to work and employ other people. This friendly society we have here has to stop. We demand that our youths are employed gainfully at the sports club. I ask the question, why must there be people from out of Linden working on a project in Linden? Why can't we turn on water faucets to water plants? Why can't we bend steel? And I call him Mr. Joseph Hamilton, you yet to act. The young men from Linden, I was there, they were sitting with nothing to do. They were told to go home, there's nothing for them to do. But other people from Essequibo are working on the sports club. These are atrocities that we cannot sit back and have happen. We have to stand against them. So again, Mr. Benshop, thank you and appreciate certainly the invitation and look forward to speaking to you whenever you make that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Apostle London. He has his business out there. He has his trucking business. How are you doing with that since you're giving out a little $200 of plantain chips? And then at the same time, you mentioned plantain chips. You mentioned Joe Hamilton in the same breath. How's your trucking business coming along?
It's doing pretty well. And I now have registered my construction company. I have all the compliances you can think about, so there's no excuse. Because I supervise so many projects and work on project development.
So we wouldn't be surprised if you get a contract, and you probably deserve that. You'll do better than these guys who have received $346 million that can't even get a classroom up and running.
I know.
You probably do better than that. I see people are saying, people are saying London for mayor of Linden, London for mayor, London for mayor. Not someone who basically going to be installed just for status and try to play games and sit on the fence and all these manner of things. But people seem to want a fighter, a real fighter, to sit there as mayor. But we'll see how the drum rolls. The drum is rolling in a particular direction that is not necessarily healthy for the people of Linden.
No.
But like I said, the drum is rolling in a direction that is not particularly too healthy for the people of Linden. I agree with Ms. V. Mac Harris says you only see them when it's election time. That should not be the case, but it is reality. And we got to find a way, though, to ensure that the PPP is stopped from these township. I recall back in, was it 2018, the PPP got 61% of the votes for the overall support base, 61% in 2018.
Yes.
The coalition, the PNC got about 34 or so percent. AFC got 4%. The other parties didn't get nothing. I don't know what's happening, Mr. London. I honestly don't know what's happening. I don't know, sir. You can tell.
Sorry, and I know I gave my closing remarks, but what I know is even in this local government environment, the opposition has had so much to say, and even with that, I'm saying, okay, then show me what you're saying. Because if all along you're strategizing all these things, now we're approaching crunch time, let the people see what you're doing then. Because whether I'm elected, it doesn't stop me from standing for what is right and representing people's causes. But let me see what they're going to do in reference to all
They're
this.
working. They're going to say they're working, and not everything we got to broadcast. We
Exactly.
working quietly. That's all. That's all they're going to say. A bunch of waste of time. Let
So
them take that and say that. Yeah, let them tell somebody else that. But we haven't seen them working. We don't know what they're doing, and it's just a sad, sad, sad situation. We just don't know what they're up to. But again, thank you so much. The people are disappointed that you're not running to become the next mayor of Linden. But I guess the people have already, they know how they want to set things up because it's a status making something, and maybe install somebody who wants to sit on the fence and wants to be nice with everybody and not do what is supposed to be done for the people of Linden. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks much.
Appreciate your time. And
Yours,
all right. So thank you, Mr. London, and go out and support his business. What's your trucking company business, man? Give the people your number, please. And in Linden, he goes anywhere. A couple of months ago, he was still in Corriverton, enjoying Corriverton.
Right. Love it. 600-3792. That's Genesis Trucking and Logistics. So you can call me at any time. 600-3792 is my number, and I'm available. We transport. It's a dump truck, so we're able to transport stone, sand, building materials, whatever it is you need, we can get it done.
What is it again? What's the number?
600-3792.
600-3792. You said it's a dump truck?
It's a dump truck, a mini dump. So it's small enough
if it's a mini dump truck. So if I just ask you to for a job, you think I'll be able to, not for a job for me, I want to hire you to probably when they have next parliament to pick up some of them there and just dump them somewhere, them waste of time members.
You don't have to pay. That's for free. Gratis. That is for free. You don't have to pay a cent for that. I would do it with glee.
We're not going to take, we're going to take all of them from the PVP side, but we're going to have a couple of them remain on the coalition side because a couple of them do mean well. But the majority of them, we carry them all over. Pick up them 2 from Linden too. Start from them.
Oh boy.
Pick up them 2 from Linden.
You'll have to come and defend me soon, man. You make me be evicted from my town. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. London. Appreciate it. And to all of our listeners, thank you all as well. We really appreciate your time. We've got to confront the real political demons, the PPP that is, but also you got some demons within too, some power hungry demons. All they want is position. They're fighting for position. Some of them feel they should be the presidential candidate. Some of them feel they should be leader of the party. Some of them feel they should be mayor of this place and that place. And them people ain't easy, But kudos to the few who are hardworking as MPs. There are a few of them. Kudos to them. We say hi to Nima Flew Best out there. She has been standing up for her folks there in the Mocha area. Roysdale Ford, from a legal standpoint, has been out there standing up. There are a few others who are out there working and standing up for the people, but in 90% of them, I know, waste of time. We might as well put London as mayor of Linden and Theodore Adams as deputy mayor. We might as well do something, right, Theodore? Put Theodore as deputy mayor, man. And put Otto Martin as the new chairman of Linden. And story done. Tired of these wannabes and those who want to just hop in from the slips and pretend that they representing people. A bunch of fence sitters, you call them. They sit on the fence. I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here. They still haven't done anything to confirm these folks. They still haven't. Meanwhile, what's happening here? Same thing. The PPP regime has been exposed. We'll touch on this later on tonight, though. Have a good night, a good rest of the day, sorry. I'll see you later on this evening. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, this is attorney Sheldon Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-7777. 3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Source.
Okay, well,
Maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you, or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Sujiro?
So my relationship, nothing. He's a tenant.